Years ago, when I was just beginning my ministry as a priest, it's probably some of the best advice I ever received from an elderly gentleman in Dalton, Georgia. He said, "Son, you need to gun things more." You know what that means? Nah, you need to take time. See, I came to find later that I'm a person that's considered a low context person. You say, well, here's this problem. Bam, I got it settled. We're done. And a high context person is somebody that says, okay, here's an issue or a problem. We need to consider that in the total context and see what happens if we solve it this way, and if we do it over here this way. It drives us low context people batty. So over the years, I've struggled with that in myself. I have to deal with that low context personality in me and try to bring out more and more the high context. And this gospel lesson, it did it again. You know, I read this gospel lesson and, oh yeah, that's about Eucharist. Case closed. Yep, break the bread, rebuilding, breaking the bread, so I can preach a wonderful sermon all about what the Eucharist is. And then that high context part of me says, is that all it is? Just about the breaking of the bread? Then you could go get a box of saltine crackers and go down and walk through the street, break crackers, and reveal Christ everywhere. I thought, oh, maybe there's a larger context. Do you remember that story about the mouse and the frog? Maybe you ought to go look that up. So I did. And it's in Tualatin Rumi. They got questioned on that at the cathedral. And it's a little story that goes like this. A mouse and a frog meet every morning on the riverbank. They sit in a nook of the ground and talk. Each morning, the second they see each other, they open easily, telling stories and dreams and secrets, empty of any fear or suspicious holding back. To watch and listen to those two is to understand how, as it's written, sometimes when two beings come together, Christ becomes visible. The mouse starts laughing out a story he hasn't thought of in 5 years, and the telling might take 5 years. There's no blocking the speech flow, river running, all carrying momentum that true intimacy is. Bitterness doesn't have a chance with those two. Oh, so that's what you're getting at. Look at this story in its larger context. The climax of the story is the breaking of the bread, but there's bridge building going to the revelation of Christ. It's the people walking along the road who take into their company an absolute stranger. They have no reason to trust this person. They don't recognize who it is. And they pour out their heart to that person and invite him into a relationship. So that's where it begins. It's not just in the breaking of the bread. That's the form. We're the content. And if we're not there, we can break all the bread we want, and Christ will never become visible. When I mean if we're not there, I'm not talking about sitting right there. I'm talking about being present to one another, which means I have to be present to myself first and real. Do I want to risk that? Do I want to risk that intimacy? So I can tell you stories that I haven't remembered for 5 years, but it might take 5 years. And you want to risk having to sit 5 years and listen to a story? That's the work of relationship. So my high context self, that's newly formed, still formed, taught my low context self something very important about this gospel. Here's the heart of it for me. This gospel is about faith. Faith in the sense of trust. Do I trust not just God, but myself and others enough to open myself to that flowing intimacy in which all of a sudden my eyes are open. And look, Christ is revealed.